Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our 5th ObeFit webinar. Obe meaning obesity and fit meaning to get fit and well. This is our 5th webinar and we have an interesting topic. Our speaker is Dr. Savita, and I have known Dr. Savita for many years. According to me, a physiologist, losing weight is simply a matter of eating less or doing some exercise. Dr. Savita is a psychologist, and to her, losing weight starts with the mind. She believes that everything, almost everything, starts with the mind, and she correlates obesity and weight loss in our discussions, to several psychologically related factors, such as eating disorders, poor body image, depression, poor self-esteem, and other such factors. Allow me to introduce you to Dr. Savita. Now, on your screen, you will see a brief profile of Dr. Savita that goes with chronology. Things go according to a time and date. I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Savita off the top of my head by virtue of the several things that she has done. I made a little note, and the sequence will be, first of all, that Dr. Savita has completed her master's in clinical psychology, gone on to do her PhD in clinical psychology, and then specialized with postgraduate studies in wellness management. She was not just a student, she is also a teacher. She teaches psychology and related subjects in our postgraduate program with Apollo Hospitals Education Research Foundation and our current program with RAC Hospitals and the RAC Medical Health College. She associates with and is a faculty with Harvard. She is associated with and has taught at the IIM, the Indian School of Business, XLRI, CII, that's the Confederation of Indian Industry, universities, schools, at insurance companies, and at corporates. Her topic of interest is stress, dependencies management, work-life balance, sleep, and so on. More than 20 or 30 years back, she pioneered the Department of Psychiatry in the Tata Main Hospital at Jamshedpur, and then went on to join the Apollo Hospitals, where she pioneered and created life studios, which the Apollo Hospitals is still utilizing. In management, she is a member of the management team. She was a member of the management team with Apollo Life. She is a member of the management team with the Arabian Wellness. She is the COO of a philanthropic institution, the RDF Foundation, where she manages the institution that caters to 4,000 children from villages. At the CII, she is a convener of corporate health, where we had the health awards. She is a member of the CII in Andhra Pradesh and was a founder member of the Women's Network. Her expertise is in psychotherapy, counseling, chronic disease management, rehabilitation. She is the author of 2 medical texts in psychology, stress and health psychology and health counseling. And to top it all, she is a TV personality. She has about 40 episodes to her credit, multi-language, some in English, some in Hindi, but all about mental well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you to a psychologist, a teacher, a manager, a philanthropist, and a TV personality, Dr. Savita.
Thank you so much, Professor Kennedy. I assure you, nobody can be kinder in their introduction of hosts. I have I have taken some sessions with you earlier and benefited greatly from your very, very kind words. So thank you so much. Thank you also for inviting me to this session on weight loss, which is your ongoing session, and to talk about the connection of psychology with weight loss. Participants, I must tell you that I may have been invited maybe not more than 3 or 4 times in a career of about 30 years to talk about the psychology of weight loss, because not too many people believe that the mind has a role to play. All people talk about is diet and exercise, and they believe that the story begins and ends with diet and exercise. So this may be my 4th or 5th session, and Professor, thank you for making the session happen. I'm going to just try and share my slides, so give me just a moment. Dr. Wilco, is it on your screen?
Yes, ma'am. We can see your slides.
Absolutely fine.
Okay. I am going to try and make it a full screen. Is it a full screen?
Not as yet.
No, it's only the sliders.
Okay. I'm looking at, yeah, it's the full screen now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is me. If you have questions through the session, please feel free to put them into the chat box, and maybe Dr. Wilco can stop me somewhere during the session if there are a bunch of questions. Otherwise, we can take all of your questions at the end. But please keep putting down your questions so that you don't lose the doubt that you have in your mind. All of you participants out there, a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for making this time to attend this session. Let's start talking a little bit about what is commonly understood in weight loss, and that is diet, which is calorie management, the food that you take in, and the activity that helps you to get the calories out. So this is what is understood about weight loss. And on the other hand, there are some people who will look at the steps on the right of your screen, which is they will go towards diet management as a means of losing weight. Some people don't believe in diet and they will go straight to exercise therapy as a means of managing weight. Some people go to all the steps from 1 to 4, and they do have some success when it comes to managing their weight. Unfortunately, some do not have, they keep going up and down between 1 and 4. And then finally, they try and take recourse to 5, which is medical management to help you in cutting down your weight. And a few still do not succeed, and they go down to step 6, which is surgical management, or let me call it bariatric surgery, as a means of losing weight. Now, this is few, but not so few that we have not been able to set up an entire industry on bariatric surgery. And friends, you will be surprised that there are apparently 580,000 patients per year who undergo bariatric surgery. 580,000. And I might say, or a dietitian and exercise therapist might say that if you can't zip your mouth, you have to zip your stomach. So the choice is yours. You either learn to zip your mouth and you teach yourself that by using diet, by using exercise, by using various behavioral techniques, and I will say more importantly, by understanding your mind and what is the basis of all of this. And if you still don't succeed, then unfortunately, hopefully not, you will land up in step 6, which requires you then to zip a body part which is not your mouth. Now let's look at the math, a simple math when it comes to weight loss. So on one hand of the screen, you have the intake of calories, which is diet, whether it's eggs or whether it's lentils or salads or fruit or soup or what have you. And on the other hand, you have activity which helps you to get those calories out. It could range from walking to running to squash, cycling, and so on. So the math says that you simply add up what you are going to eat, and then you add up the kind of workout into time that you're going to put in, and you should have a calorie balance. Let's take a step further and say that if one is the calories that are consumed by your daily bodily functions, that is your sedentary metabolic rate, and then you add to that the calories that are required for your work. Let's say, you do some kind of semi-physical work, so you have a certain calorie intake over there. And number 3, the exercise that helps you to consume an extra number of calories. So you have number 3. Now, if you put together 1, 2, and 3, you have 3 aspects. Now, if you are continuously doing 2 and 3, that is work and exercise, then 3 minus 2 will give you 1, which means you land up with only the sedentary metabolic calories which your body is going to consume anyway. So you remain slim and you remain healthy, right? That's a simple math. 3 minus 2 is equal to 1, which is the simple number of calories that your body requires in order to carry its own internal functions. And then you have 3, but you only have 3 minus 1, which means that you only take out calories for your work, but you don't take out the number 2, which is calories for your exercise. And then you are not just left with enough calories to run your bodily functions, but you have an excess of 700. And how does that lead to overweight? Now imagine that you have an excess of 700 calories on a daily basis. Now in a week, you have 700 into 7. So that gives you, how much is that? 4,900, I think, Dr. Wilku?
3,500 calories, which would be about 1 pound, I think, in a week. At 700 into 7 is 4,900. Yes, that's a little more than a pound of fat.
Of 4,900, and you multiply that by 4 weeks, and you have 4,900 into 4. So that comes to about, say, 1,700 calories or so, if I'm not mistaken. So Prof, in your calculation, in a month, how much excess weight would that be?
About 5 kgs.
So you're looking at about 5 kgs simply by not adding the number 2 over there, which is exercise. And therefore, you can say that this is all a very simple formula. You put in the exercise on a daily basis, you put in the work on a daily basis, you eat a total of all of this, which is 2,500 calories, and you are good to go. Not an extra pound, not an extra kg coming onto your body weight. Is it really as simple as that? Is it really as simple as saying calories in, calories out? Is that all there is to it? So the simple formula would say you eat less, you work out more, you are slim. You follow your height weight chart, or you follow your BMI calculation, or you follow your body fat, or you just make sure that you're dropping sizes in terms of your trousers, your shirts, and so on. And all of this activity will help you in keeping your weight down. It is as simple as that. Does the math of weight loss really work? And if it really worked, then why is there a weight loss industry which has grown to over $61 billion? This is not a small sum. This is a huge industry making a lot of money Obviously, because the math is not succeeding. So people are willing to try different combinations, different solutions, try, not succeed, keep trying something different, go for the latest, go for a new fad, and so on, in order to get to what they want to do, which is to lose weight. If you meet a few friends casually over lunch, and you have decided that you're not going to talk about politics, you're not going to talk about religion, you're not going to talk about some of these controversial subjects, then what is the subject that most people will gravitate towards? Any thoughts? Nowadays, it's not really clothes. It's not really what is the latest handbag that you have bought or what's the latest car that you have got. It more likely is you've lost so much weight, you're looking so good. So talk about weight and compliments on weight have become a universal talking point, whichever country you may be in. And then there are the latest diets that everybody wants to know about. So are you on the keto diet? Are you on the latest, which is an intermittent diet? Is your intermittent diet with less gap, or is your intermittent diet with a 23-hour gap? And so therefore, the latest diet that a lot of people are following, and I really do not know how good it is going to be in the long run, is OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. People are actually having 1 meal a day and maybe just having some green tea or something throughout. I'm sure these solutions are good if they are for a short period of time, but for a longer period of time, I'm sure these are things that Professor Kennedy and Dr. Wilku have spoken about with all of you. I'm not going to go into those details. But there is more to weight loss than the math, is basically what I'm trying to say. Friends, let's take a quick look at these lines over here. Now, where do they cross? Can you pinpoint those points where these lines cross, where these circles cross? Can you take a quick look? Can I have your answers on the chat box very quickly, please? Where do they cross? On the left side, on the right side, the circle on the right side, the circle on the left side, whatever you may, however you may want to describe it. Can you please quickly put down your answers? Where do these lines cross?
They don't seem to cross, ma'am.
So I think you may have seen this slide earlier and you're cheating. Okay, Nasreen says it doesn't cross. Elise says it doesn't cross. They're concentric circles, Prashant says. And as a matter of fact, friends, the lines do not cross. So, Prof, you are right. They do not cross. And why? When you look at it, why does it look like they cross? For all of us, I'm sure, till we took a closer look and realized that, in fact, they do not cross. When we first looked, it looked like the lines cross in quite a few places, not just one, but quite a few places. Why do you think? Any thoughts? Anyone? Okay. Somebody has given me a comment. Square shapes, illusion. Yes, illusion is right. The reason why it looks like these lines cross is because of your perception. Because when you perceive it at first glance, it looks like they cross. That's an illusion. In reality, they do not cross. And friends, the point over here is that your entire life, the truth that you think is your truth, what you imbibe within yourself, what helps you to make your identity is this perception. Your entire thought process, all the choices that you make are based on your perception. What you think is reality is in fact only your reality. It is not everybody else's reality, but it is your reality. And this becomes your unconditioned, your unconscious conditioned mind. Your mind slowly but steadily becomes conditioned as per the perceptions that you have had. If you have had happy experiences, your perception of life is that of happiness, and that makes you a happy personality, or vice versa. So let me just move to another understanding of this. So some of you or all of you may have heard of Pavlov, who was a Russian scientist, and he did probably the first experiments to understand how do people learn things, how does perception impact people, and he came up with conditioning. And what he did was, he had a dog. We all know the dog as Pavlov's dog. So he had a dog. He presented the dog with food. The dog salivated. Then he presented the dog with food and a bell. The dog continued to salivate. And you will be surprised to know that after some time, he presented only the bell and the dog continued to salivate. So what had happened over here? What had happened was that the dog had been conditioned to respond to the bell. Nature had conditioned the dog to food, but Pavlov had conditioned the dog to the bell, and the dog continued to salivate just at the ringing of the bell. Now take this to your own real life situation. Let's say there is a child and the mother reprimands the child. And then the mother feels guilty because she sees the child crying and sobbing. And then what might she do? They are both sad. So she might present the child with maybe a cupcake or maybe a donut or something in order to make the child feel not so bad. And by doing that, the mother is less guilty, the mother is less sad, the child is less sad. Both of them are a little better, a little happier. So now what you have is a reprimand, a strong emotion, coupled with food, and therefore a feeling of comfort and happiness. Now, after a period of time, you don't have a mother in your day-to-day life to reprimand you or to give you different kinds of emotions. So then this is what you do to yourself. What do? Life may reprimand you. And when life reprimands you, you give yourself food. And then you feel okay. And soon enough, you have different kinds of emotions. It could be sadness, it could be anger, but you couple all with food and then you feel okay. So your coping mechanism to any situation, any emotion in life very soon becomes food, and food becomes your coping mechanism and your response to most situations in order for you to become okay. Do you see how what applied to Pavlov's dog applies to us and our mindset as well? So therefore, we look at the mind and you understand that we have a conscious mind that we use on a day-to-day basis. This is like your active daily mind that is at work. And then every experience that we have had in our lives is not forgotten, but is stored in our unconscious mind, which is the larger part of our mind. And some material is stored in the unconscious mind because you do not have any need for it on a day-to-day basis. For instance, we studied contours in geography, or we studied the details of the dynasties that ruled countries and kingdoms and so on in history, but we do not need it anymore. And so therefore, they're all stored in the unconscious mind. If you revive it a little bit, they will all come to you. But then there are other experiences that we may not have been able to cope with, that we may not have been able to handle, and we felt overwhelmed with those experiences. And those experiences that overwhelmed us, that frightened us, that gave us a lot of anxiety, gave us a lot of discomfort that we couldn't handle, we suppressed, and all these suppressed experiences went into your unconscious mind. Now we think that the unconscious mind is unconscious, it is deep down, it is buried beneath the conscious mind, and therefore it does not impact us in any way. But the unconscious mind sends out its tentacles into our daily behavior, and eating or overeating is one of the things that the unconscious mind makes you do. Some of it I was trying to explain to you in the previous 2 slides as well. We'll talk about it more in the next slides, friends. If you have any queries anywhere where you have a doubt or a thought, please continue to post it. If I'm in the flow and can't look at your queries, we will look at them all at the end. So this is how we look at a conditioned response, a way for you to cope. This all becomes our coping behavior. And food, in the case of people with a lot of weight issues, food has become their coping mechanism. They have not actively tried to create any other coping mechanism. For instance, a person who is angry might go out and exercise, and that might give you a state of calmness. But a person who is overweight, when there is anger, might have some food to make themselves comfortable, and that might give them some calmness. So over here, food has become a coping mechanism for this person, and soon enough, without your realizing it, food also becomes your identity. It becomes your social identity. It becomes the way people see you. It is how people respond to you. They don't see you, whatever and whoever you may be, but they basically see you and weight. That is how, after a while, that weight surpasses every other quality that you may have. It's like a badge that you carry with you. It's like a hat that somebody wears. You carry that weight, and that identity walks ahead of you every time. And before you know it, that's the one identity everybody recognizes you as. So then people like you. People look at you and they say, oh, how sweet, cute, cuddly, plump. They make jokes at you and you're willing to laugh along with them. They say you have a good sense of humor. Sometimes you make jokes at yourself before they make jokes at you. But friends, none of this is funny. Underlying, these are all soft insults that you have just chosen to take as a joke. Inside you, you are not finding it funny at all. You are laughing at yourself before other people laugh at you. But inside, all of this is surely making you miserable. It would make the strongest of human beings miserable. Why will it not make you miserable? So you get used to being miserable. You get used to coping in the same way that you have been coping. And this all chips away at your self-esteem, at your self-worth. It chips away at your motivation. It cuts out your drive, your desire to do things, your belief in yourself. It leaves you feeling fairly beaten down. You know what you want to do. You know the right thing to do is to move away from this coping mechanism. But where is the motivation? Where is the drive? You try something for 2 days. You try something for 5 days. You quit. You try something again after a few months. You quit again. At some point, you tell yourself, it's just not going to happen. It works with other people. It doesn't work for me. This is who I am. None of this is going to work for me. Losing weight, friends, involves changing your behavior. It involves changing your habits. It involves changing your diet. It involves exercise. But first of all, it involves changing your identity, the identity that you have inside you, the identity that says, if I'm angry, I eat food and I feel better. It involves changing that identity, friends. And when you start changing your identity, then you start making different choices from what you did earlier. You start coping in different ways from what you did earlier. And the results will also be different from whatever you may have had earlier. I'm just taking a breath from between slides, Dr. Bilku, because I'm talking so much. What works then? If we understand that the mind is at the bottom of all of this, then what works? Look at the triangle on the right side and you will understand the message behind this entire slide. The triangle on the side clearly tells you that yes, diet is a big part of managing your weight. On the right side, exercise is a big part of managing your weight. But what sits on top of diet and exercise? What sits on top is you, friends. You are the answer. You are the problem, and therefore you are the answer. And you have to walk in first with your new identity before you can get the support of diet, of exercise in order to continue taking this new identity forward. So you need to create a plan. Yes, you need to have a sustainable plan, and your sustainable plan the sustainability part of your plan will only come if you take baby steps. If you take giant steps, I can assure you your plan will not work. There are enough people who have taken giant steps. They felt extremely motivated in 2-3 days. They took on another step and another step. And the thing about giant plans is that in the first 1 or 2 months, they will succeed also in a giant way. You'll have some big successes, but thereafter you will drop off the radar and you will probably slide down to a worse position than where you were when you started. So giant plans do not work, friends. Make it a sustainable plan, and a sustainable plan has to be a plan which involves only baby steps. Don't keep a target weight in mind, because if you have a target weight in mind, that starts pressurizing you too much. You haven't lost so much weight, you've lost only 200 grams, you have another maybe 20 kgs to go, maybe 40 kgs to go. So the pressure of a target weight becomes too much. Have a path, have a journey, have a broad goal, but don't set target weights, don't get specific, don't do anything that is going to add pressure on you. Remember, this is a fine balance that we are on. We are only taking baby steps. We do not want to upset the apple cart in any way. So no target weight, no big plans, no huge fat diets and so on. A simple plan of calories in, calories out, sure, but once the mind has come into the picture. So therefore, we are not looking at a 1 meal a day and so on and so forth. You will slip, friends. Everyone who gets on a plan will slip. There will be a few slips. There will be a few misses. There may be a couple of small falls. It doesn't really matter. Pick yourself up and start again. Don't treat a slip or a fall as a major breakdown situation, and therefore this is not going to work anymore. Stick to the plan, stick to the sustainable plan of just a baby step at a time. All you have missed is a few baby steps. You went off the radar for 7 days. You missed 7 baby steps. It doesn't really matter, but stick to the plan. And can you imagine the way we calculated weight per day into weeks, into 4 weeks? Now you take baby steps and you take 1 baby step every day. In 30 days, you have nothing short of 30 baby steps. Ordinarily, you would never have had the ability to take 30 baby steps. And when you look back in a year, remember, I'm also suggesting that you walk the journey of the tortoise. Do not do what the hare did. What did the hare do? The hare fell off to sleep.
Stop.
Ma'am, your network has, I think, gone a little disrupted.
Look for it. All doctors' connections lost.
Please wait, we are reconnecting.
I'm going to share again.
Yeah, we can see you, doctor.
Yeah, it's most unfortunate that the power just decided to go
Oops.
when it never does. Yeah. So anyway, I'm on a hotspot and I'm going to try and go back to.
Ma'am, if you want, we can share your slide.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see this?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
You have to put it on slideshow,
So
ma'am.
friends, what I was talking about. Okay. Dr. Niku, I am going to, I think you can remove my share and you add your share. because I just want to be able to look at the internet at the bottom, and if I need to move out of hotspot to get better.
No issue, ma'am. Give me a
So-
minute. Give me a minute.
I'm clicking stop share when you tell
Yeah.
me so.
Okay, okay.
Friends, just give me a moment. It's a slight hiccup. Prof, I also noticed that we have spent a lot of time and I have at least another 10 slides to go. So I'm going to just rush through because I have what, 20 minutes more? How much time do I have?
Yes, feel comfortable, Doc. Please feel comfortable.
Okay.
You have 20 minutes.
I will start as soon as, Dr. Wilku will share the slides.
We've shared the
Dr.
slide.
Wilku have started sharing? Huh?
We've shared the
Okay, but I
slide.
cannot see it.
You can't see it?
No.
Just a minute.
Yes, ma'am. We have
Yeah.
shared the slide. Yeah. Now you can just say
Yes,
Saloni is
thank you,
managing
Dr.
it
Wilku.
and say next next.
Okay. Thank you so much. So friends, what I was trying to say is that everybody thinks that the better way to be is the hair, quick, fast, efficient, in a quick amount of time, you'll be able to get to your goal, which is to lose weight and look slim and trim. But you know what the hair did? The hair was quick, efficient. The hair was already slim and trim, but the hair got bald and fell off to sleep. And that's not something that you want to happen as far as your health is concerned. So follow the route of the tortoise. What the tortoise did was the tortoise took only baby steps because the tortoise was capable only of baby steps. But at the end, it was the tortoise with the baby steps that was the winner. So follow the route of the tortoise, keep the focus on changing your identity from somebody who is called nice, plump, chubby, etc., to an identity which is a losing weight identity. With only baby steps, you will find that in 365 days, you will have actually taken 365 baby steps, give or take a few here and there from the slips and misses and small falls that you may have had. But just stick to this very slow, easy journey, and you will surely find that you are very comfortably on the path to achieving your new identity, which is your losing weight identity. But take it one day at a time, friends. Take it one step at a time. However, know that this is a journey that you will continue for the rest of your life. Next, please. So can we look at weight in another way? Dr. Wilku, next, please. Yeah. Can we look at weight in another way? Let's talk a little bit about something different. Somebody smokes shisha, somebody smokes cigarettes, somebody has other substances. And what is the definition of these substances? A substance your body does not need, but you cannot do without. All the substances written on top, they have no benefit as far as your body is concerned. There is nothing that your body is going to benefit from. You're not going to improve your health. Any of the substances written right on top in bold. Yet, even though your body does not need it, you cannot do without it. That is an addiction, friends. Weight also comes into this category. Something that your body does not need, but you cannot do without. The extra calories, a substance your body does not need, but you cannot do without. So ask yourself this question, friends. Are you addicted? Are you addicted to food? Are you addicted to calories? Are you addicted to giving yourself food no matter what the emotion that you are going through? Next, please. Take a serious look at an addiction. And here is what research has to say. Human beings are addicted to substances, but human beings are also addicted to non-drug addictions. So on the left, you could have marijuana, alcohol, coke, etc., etc. But on the right side, you will see that there are many non-drug addictions, and out there somewhere, you will also see overeating as an addiction. And what happens with addictions is that there is a small part in your brain called the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex has this neurochemical called dopamine. And this, I will say, is a very dangerous chemical, because what dopamine does is, when you give yourself the extra food that you are craving for in order to feel better emotionally, when you give yourself that food, there is a reward feeling generated because dopamine is triggered with the, the satisfaction that you feel with the food that you have consumed. So you feel that satisfaction, dopamine is triggered, and it gives you a feeling of reward. But what happens here is that you get into a cycle. There is food, dopamine is triggered, you feel rewarded, but this reward cycle is short-lived, it is not long-lived, and therefore after some time, the dopamine will go down. You have not really dealt with the sadness or the anger that may have caused you to overeat in the first place, so you'll be sad again. Again, you will eat food, again dopamine will get triggered, and that's how this reward cycle remains continuous. It does not really help you to deal with or cope with the sadness or anger that had caused this dopamine cycle in the first place. Next, please. So therefore, look at yourself and understand what are these factors that are impacting you. So if you have a craving and you indulge in that craving, it means that you do not have any control over that craving. So your disorder is happening because you have less control over situations. Eventually, you will find that this creates issues and problems for you in your work-life area as well, your social area, your leisure activities, but certainly your work-life issues, you will find that there are problems created in these areas too. And you might find ultimately your health becomes a risky issue. You might have cholesterol, you might have blood sugar, but you might have knee issues, but you will still continue on the path of overeating. And finally, in order to give yourself the satisfaction that is coming from eating, your tolerance is increasing, which means you need
Dr. Savitha, can you unmute, please? You're muted.
I am unmuted. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm good. Next, please. The thing about diet, the psychology of weight loss and diet is that diet does work, a diet plan does work for some people. And for some people, it works some of the time. That is how a diet plan works. So if we could take this forward and understand that if you could make this the psychology of diet or the psychology of weight loss, then we will introduce 3 elements, that is stress, mindfulness, and behavior. And why do these 3 impact us on a positive basis when it comes to your weight loss? Take a look at these bowls, for instance. Now you have a large bowl, and somebody who is not conscious about weight loss will probably eat out of a large bowl. And somebody who has just gotten on the journey, and baby steps is something that they're looking at. So they may not necessarily reduce the quantity, but they may change the psychology. one large bowl may not give you so much of satisfaction. But if you take a small bowl and you take 3 times of helpings in the small bowl, your mind will feel like you have eaten 3 times. And that is going to give you a lot more satisfaction than having one large bowl. So a little bit of mindfulness, if added in, you can actually start, your mind will come into the picture and you will start managing your weight much better. Next, please. Yes, so when it comes to stress, what simply happens is that our ancestors looked at stress as fight or flight, which means if there is a stress that you can deal with, then you fight. If you can't deal with it, you run away or flight in the situation. And this is a survival mode, it's fight or flight, because it is either you die or your enemy dies. It is that kind of a situation. So in survival mode, your body has moved into extreme responses in terms of hormones, neurochemicals, and so on, where a lot of hormones and neurochemicals are being triggered and secreted in order to gear up all your bodily systems to stay alive and take care of yourself and protect yourself. Now, in this, a lot of energy is required by the body, and therefore all energy is conserved. Fat is the probably only or biggest source of energy, and then fat stored as well. Fat is conserved as well. And therefore, if you are in the habit of making a stress response, looking at most situations as stressful and going into a chronic stress situation, then your body is going to go into a fat storage situation all the time. And try as you might, you are not going to find it easy to lose weight. The second is mindfulness. We spoke about that. If you are mindful about eating, if you're mindful about the aroma of your food, the quantity of your food, if you're mindful about chatting with a friend, going for a walk, sipping a warm cup of tea, if all these activities happen in a state of mindfulness, this mindfulness helps you to reverse the survival mode or the fight-flight response. From the sympathetic nervous system responses, which put you on arousal and alert, you move to the parasympathetic nervous system, which takes you towards making a relaxation response. So along with mindfulness, which helps you to be calm, you can also add a few relaxation techniques like breathing exercises, which is the simplest one to start with, for instance. So this would also take you away from conserving and storing fat and getting you ready to start losing fat, to start eating mindfully in the first place. And then, of course, number 3, you have behavior, which is the many tips that you are given, the many lists, the many hacks that you pick up from here and there. Do this, don't do this, buy this, don't buy that, etc., in order for you to be better at managing your weight. However, underneath it all are your feelings, things that make you uncomfortable, and therefore what you definitely need to address is your mindset, who you are. If you're in alignment, then weight loss will follow. But if you try various things, but there is overstress, there is no mindfulness, if your mind is not in the picture, then weight loss is not going to follow, unfortunately, friends. People will tell you that this is about willpower. You just make up your mind and you can do it. This is not about willpower at all. This is about understanding yourself and starting the journey from understanding yourself. Next, please. I'm going to move a little quickly, friends, because we're coming towards the end of our time, or we probably are at the end of our time. Look at these cues and triggers, and you will understand that if you want to start losing weight, incorporate these as baby steps in your weight loss plan. So whenever you are sitting to watch a movie, what is it that your hands are dying to do? Your hands are dying to hold a bowl of popcorn and eat from that popcorn bowl. You have to finish the biggest bowls of popcorn that are being sold nowadays. You have to finish that big bowl of popcorn while you're watching a movie. If you are sad, I think I will eat a chocolate or some dessert. It'll make me feel not so sad. If I'm bored, maybe I will have some other munchies and maybe that will make me feel good. If I am looking for comfort because I'm not feeling secure, I'm not feeling protected, if I'm looking for comfort, then maybe I will give myself some very carby food, like say a nice sandwich or a good bowl of rice or something that will make me feel comforted and comfortable. So there are many cues and triggers, And these cues and triggers have food associated with it in one way or the other. If I'm looking for a reward, I have done a job well and I'm looking for a reward, I may decide to reward myself by giving myself a big bowl of something that I had been denying myself all this time. So cues and triggers is something you will have to be careful about and incorporate in your daily plan if you want to make your journey successful. Next, please. Sleep is very closely related with weight gain as well. There are two neurochemicals and hormones that are connected with weight gain, that is with diet, that is with hunger, and that is ghrelin and leptin. And if you sleep less, then the regulation of these hormones is not so efficient, and therefore anything less than 4 hours of sleep is going to aggravate your hunger management, your regulating of your hunger, and it is going to trigger more eating and less management of your diet. So make sure, whether it is the quality of your sleep, whether it is sleep apnea, make sure that your sleep is well managed as a means of managing your weight gain as well. Next, please. Friends, quickly take a look at this. There are many factors that I have put down over there, and you will understand then that some factors can be controlled by you. You are in a position to control these factors, but other factors are not in your control. Other people can control these factors and not you. And I think since we don't have time, I'm just going to look at these factors and give you the answers as well. For instance, you can control action. You cannot control the past. You can control give. You cannot control get. You can control the present moment and not the past. You can control the service that you contribute. You can control your own free will. And you can accept responsibility. These are factors that in your control. They are I factors. They are not they factors. Okay. Now, what's the point over here? If these are factors that are in your control and you can control them, are there other factors that are in your control? If action is in your control, genetics is not in your control, environment is not in your control, behavior is in your control. And if we recognize factors that are in our control, can we start focusing on I factors and not on they factors? Most of the times, weight gain has been happening because there is no responsibility and moving and focus towards I factors. The focus remains on they factors. The more you focus on I factors, the more you bring in the locus of control within you. It is not outside you, but it is within you. So you move this locus of control within you, you start taking ownership, you hold the key, and before you know it, you have started changing your identity and you are moving on to the journey of weight loss, friends. Next, please. And this slide is interesting. Take a quick look at what is physical hunger and what is emotional hunger, and use this to break the need to cope, then overeat, overeat, and then overweight cycle. Use this slide to help you to break this cycle, which is just going on and on and on within you. So if there is physical hunger, you actually feel satisfied and you stop eating. But if there is emotional hunger, you don't really feel satisfied at any point of time, and therefore you can continue to eat. Any food will not do, a specific food will do. You will have craving for a specific food. So you will not just be hungry, but you will have a craving. So there are a lot of differences between physical hunger and emotional hunger. Recognize emotional hunger, and that is where you need to start putting your plan into place. Emotional hunger has to do with boredom, anxiety, stress, etc., etc. And that is what you need to deal with. So you can start making a list of some simple things that you're going to start doing as alternate behavior. So if I'm angry, maybe I can go for a run to get rid of my anger. Maybe I can just step outside my apartment and go up and down the staircase, and that way I will feel a little exhausted and I won't have any room in my brain for anger, rather than sit down and give myself some food to manage my anger. So we can make a list and pick up one, not more than 2 ideas from this list in order to start working on alternate ways of managing your emotional hunger, rather than surrendering to it and surrendering to all the cravings as well. Next, please. Friends, I'm just going to tell you that these disorders exist. They do not give you weight gain, so it is not really relevant to the group, but usually people want to know about these disorders. So there is a profound disturbance of body image as far as both these disorders are concerned. They impact the female gender more than the male gender, and usually is seen in adolescence, bulimia more in later adolescent, and anorexia more in earlier adolescent. Anorexia you will see up to 1% in adolescent girls, and bulimia you could see up to 5% in later adolescent girls. Bulimia could occur in anorexia as well. If it is too far gone, remember that anorexia becomes very difficult to treat. Bulimia is not that difficult to treat, but still is not very comfortable. Bulimia starts with binge eating, and you go on binge eating, and somewhere along the line, perhaps a year into bulimia, you decide that this binge eating is not helping me, and vomiting gets introduced after binging. So binging, purging becomes the cycle where bulimia is concerned, and anorexia is more about not eating at all, trying to not eat at all. But basically both the disorders have to do with an absolutely lopsided body image, where even if you are 85% below your expected weight, you still look at yourself as being overweight. Next, please. If dietitians and exercise therapists were to absorb some of these skills, the skill of understanding what the other person is going through, the skill of accepting wherever it is that the person comes from, the skill of not judging. You came to me, we created a plan, you fell off the radar, now you have come back again, you're useless, you're a failure. This is a judgment. So not judging the client who you are working with, but understanding that this is part of the process, and whether you succeed or whether you fail, to continue to have unconditional positive regard for you. With all of this, a dietitian and an exercise therapist will be equipped with helping skills, with the skills of a counselor, and they will actually be able to address the mindset of the client rather than only calorie management, calories in and calories out. Next, please. And I think this is my last slide. Even if you feel capable, even if you feel that you can do it, you know what the game is, you can follow this game, it is still helpful if you join a support group. Joining a support group makes you feel less lonely, less alone, less isolated, and less judged. It makes you feel like all these people are in the same boat as me. They understand exactly what I'm going through. They are not here to judge me, but they are here. If we can work together, that is something that is going to work best for all of us. So finding a friend to work out with is one of the best ways to stay motivated and to lose weight. And so therefore, talking openly, being honest with your feelings, all of these are possible in safety when you are in a support group. And if you form a buddy and the two of you work together, then this is like a friend who, if you can work along with, or you can both handhold each other, review each other's progress, nudge each other if one of you has had a slip or a small fall, share your progress, share your failures, share your successes with each other. And all of this does not have to be face-to-face. It could be online. It could be a simple text that you exchange on a daily basis with each other. Exercise, one tick; diet, one tick; tomorrow, across. But that way, both of you are reviewing and hand-holding each other. And a support group as well as a buddy system, both of you will take far in your journey of weight management and weight loss. Thank you so much, friends. I'm sure I took a little more than I was supposed to of your time. I'm going to hand over to Dr. Wilku for any questions that you might have.
And before you do that, Dr. Savita, thank you so much. Thank you so much. In spite of the fact that you had your own issues with connectivity from time to time, I must tell you that it was very enlightening. Food for thought, as a matter of, in a manner of speaking, food for thought, not just food for our stomach. Now, you said some interesting things. When you spoke about food as an addiction, now that is an interesting thought. I all along understood that alcohol and smoking could be addictions, but I have learned at this late stage of my life that food can also be an addiction. Thank you so much for that. You also spoke about emotional hunger, in a manner of speaking, where you use food to supplement emotional needs. That was a very interesting concept. I must try and understand that more. And then, of course, your final suggestion of support groups. Friends, you do know that our audience is more than 10,000 individuals who are participating in this RAC Biggest Weight Losers Challenge. Now, this could form the support group that Dr. Savita is suggesting. We are all together in this, and the psychological aspects certainly have a role to play. Dr. Savita, I am a believer. Thank you so much. And now I hand over to my colleague, Dr. Wilku, who will collate the questions. Dr. Wilku, with you, sir.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Savita. It was a wonderful session, and you have, like Professor mentioned, you have pointed out very interesting points, which anyhow, many questions were being asked similar to that stream. So my first question is from Mr. Harsahaj. He has WhatsApped me, and because of his internet issue, he was not able to join properly. See, he asked, you have spoken about bulimia. Generally speaking, it is a good means of obesity.
There is nothing good, unfortunately, about bulimia or anorexia. These are eating disorders, which means that you have a very lopsided view of your body weight. You never look, you may be the smallest size, but you look at your body as larger than it is. Your perception has nothing to do with reality. Remember what we spoke about right in the beginning about perception. So your perception has nothing to do with reality. You keep looking at your body as being much larger than it is. You keep complaining about your body. In body dysmorphia, you complain about one part of your body, like your nose or your skin or your hair or the kind of forehead that you might have, for instance. But here you complain about your body as being just not slim enough. So your perception about your body is wrong. And as a result, your entire pursuit of weight loss is, first of all, unrequired, and therefore it becomes extreme. So bulimia and anorexia are eating disorders. Imagine a scenario where you overeat. And this is what happens with bulimia. So you binge, you see a lot of food, you're dying to eat that food, you eat more than you should be eating. So there is bulimia, then there is binge eating. Binge eating is followed with abdominal pain. And following that abdominal pain, you will stop eating. But the abdominal pain may remain. And therefore, what do? Then you go and purge. So purging is voluntary vomiting, which means you find a way to bring it all out of your system by vomiting it out. And sometimes people could use diuretics, laxatives, etc., to get everything out of their system. Of course, the fastest way is purging. So this is not a healthy habit at all. It is not recommended for anyone. And I must say, friends, in the case of bulimia, perhaps you might get success with, say, 50% if you are lucky, 50% of your patients, if you are lucky, that is. The number is not so good with anorexia.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. You have covered, in fact, you have covered two more questions in that. The second question was about anorexia nervosa. And again, the same concept was that it's being careful of eating to prevent weight gain. So the question was similar. It is good or bad. You have already answered it. There is one interesting question. Usually the study shows the depression also leads to obesity. Is there any psychological management to prevent obesity? You have mentioned a lot of things, but the question is there any psychological management to prevent obesity?
So depression and other psychological situations could be underlying factors with obesity, and also remember, in your journey of being overweight, when you are constantly putting on more and more and more weight, in that journey itself, remember the amount of loss of self-esteem, loss of self-worth that you are going through, that you're allowing other people to subject you through. So you are also picking up a lot of sadness, loneliness, and depression along the way, even if it is not clinical depression, but these are emotions and symptoms that will bother you a great deal, that will harm your personality formation, the concept that you have of yourself. So medication, if you have clinical depression, could certainly help. If you have anxiety that is diagnosed, then some medication could certainly help. But I will say some of the things that we have spoken about, for instance, trying to understand yourself, trying to get on an introspective journey, maybe using a therapist to help you in this journey, because it might not be so easy for you to just come to an understanding of yourself. So a therapist, a psychologist could help you to begin this journey. If required, some medication, and I don't mean medication to lose weight, I mean medication to manage the underlying psychological factors so that they are not, again, aggravating your weight gain or pushing you towards overeating. So that could help you in your journey as well.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Mohammad Adnan is very interacting in this session. So he has put many points. So one interesting point he is sharing, I don't like to share my morning or evening walk with anyone. Other time I may walk. Is this a disorder? Is it a psychological effect?
Not at all, Adnan. You want to have quiet time, perhaps when you are walking. Maybe you like to listen to a podcast. Maybe you have thoughts on your mind and you are just, looking through those thoughts and looking to make a plan for the rest of the day. So reasons could be many why you prefer your personal time when you are walking. This is not a disorder at all. This is a choice that you are making. I will say, as long as you walk, whether you walk alone or whether you walk in company, you don't want a support group when you are walking, it's absolutely fine. Walking is the most important thing. And I will say, please continue that habit. Many congratulations that you are walking.
Yeah, true, ma'am. One last question I will be taking. Again, it's the same thing, but one gentleman is asking, my sister eats very less in fear of getting overweight. She is only 14. Is it a good thing to eat like this?
No. This is what has happened. And I will say that social media is another thing that is majorly responsible when it comes to young teens. Instagram is one of them. Instagram has a lot of filters that help people to make themselves look prettier, slimmer, more attractive, and so on. And a lot of people post pictures all the time and use these filters to make themselves look prettier. But they're not real. These pictures are not real because they are filtered pictures. But when other people see them, then they think that this is what I like to be, this is what I want to be. And therefore, they then get influenced into thinking that in order to look pretty, I have to lose weight. And like I said, young teenagers are majorly affected with this because peers is their life. And therefore, being accepted by peers, feeling good where peers are concerned, that becomes the most important factor. And if you don't try and check this in time, the fear is that it should not go into anorexia. That's always a fear. So find a way by which your sister could eat with everybody at the dining table, not eat alone, because the other fear is most of the times these young girls will say that they have eaten alone when in fact they have not really eaten. So they're starving themselves. So find a way by which your sister can eat her meals with everybody concerned in company, where you encourage her gently. Yes, let her eat a little, let her eat small meals. There is no harm in that. There is no harm if she wants to control her diet. But the harm is if she wants to starve. That is a harm. So I will say, just keep an eye open to find out that she is not going in that direction. Don't force her to overeat. I must tell you, majority of human beings overeat. Majority of human beings overeat. If we don't need 3,000 calories, why do we eat 3,000 calories? If we need only 1,500 calories, then the extra 500 calories of just a 2,000 calorie diet, which in itself is not more, that extra 500 calories per day, you can see how much it is going to add up, and it is going to give you unnecessary grief at the end of the month itself. So majority of people are eating, and therefore don't judge your sister by the food that majority of people are eating. I will say the worry is as long as she is not starving. If she's not starving herself, if her diet is a little bit less, that may not be in itself such a big problem, as long as she is not starving. So in order to do that, let her eat along with all of you. You will at least be able to keep an eye on her.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I'll finish with one of my questions. Body shaming is very usual thing in young girls, especially girls, I will say, and many others also feel about body shaming. How to manage it psychologically?
That's the trouble. People think that body shaming others is a way of getting them to help themselves. It is not at all. There is nothing helpful about calling an overweight person fat. It is an insult. But what the person who is overweight has done is there have been so many insults in their life that they have just built an attitude to take these insults with a smile. They have made themselves into these cute roly-poly creatures who take an insult, who smile, who make a joke on themselves before other people make a joke on them. So they are body shaming themselves before other people say that, because they know that sooner or later it's going to come. It is there in everybody's mind. If I'm sitting at the airport or if I'm going into a shopping mall trying clothes, people are looking at me. What size is going to fit this person? So it is there. If I'm standing in a grocery line, people will look at the cart of a person who is overweight. Nobody will bother with the shopping cart of another person. But if an overweight person has a shopping cart, everybody will look to see what is the food this overweight person is eating, So there is a lot of this very unhealthy focus. It is none of our business. It is none of the business of society, but it is very difficult for this overweight person to stand up to society. So I will say in the first place, stop joining the rest of the people to make a joke at yourself. At least stop doing that. You're not happy, at least show that you're not happy, because that might move you towards taking some action, doing something. You won't just stay in that demotivated, lethargic state. You might get motivated enough to pick yourself up and start this difficult journey.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I will finish with that, but only one thing I would like to mention. Nasreen is asking, we have already informed everyone, every participant. You can, if you have any doubts or to clarify, please write a mail to support@weight-loss-challenge, or we have numbers given over there, so you can WhatsApp us. So we can definitely support you to clarify your query. Thank you so much, Professor.
And I have no issues if people send mails to support@RAC, and you then direct them to me if they have any further queries that they haven't asked, because they're personal, because you don't want to break confidentiality for whatever reason. Feel free, but get on this journey.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, we do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thank you so much, Professor Kennedy, for inviting me. I think this is now officially my 4th session in psychology of weight loss, and hopefully more people will think that the mind does have a role to play. Professor is converted, as he said.
Dr. Savita, thank you so much. I am absolutely convinced that psychology has a role to play in weight loss. I mean, it was often said, but this session with you has made me a believer. There are many things that you said that were truly insightful, It's not simply a matter of maths, calorie in and calorie out. I think the mind has a major role to play. And well, psychology has many areas of expertise, and I can see that weight loss will certainly should be one of them. Thank you so much, Dr. Savita. Thank you so much. We can't thank you enough. I would like to thank our audience for spending time with us today for this interesting and in many ways pioneering webinar on the psychological aspects of weight loss. In our earlier sessions, you've heard our nutritionist, you've heard our physiotherapist, and today you have heard our psychologist. Dr. Savita is a senior member of our program. She lives out of India, but is with us in spirit and through the internet and supports Arabian Wellness. I'd like to thank my team sitting here, Dr. Wilku. We have Saloni Safraz. We have our IT team supporting us, and of course, the benevolence of RAC Hospital at all times. Our next webinar is on the 29th of January. We will be talking about the metabolic syndrome, or we will be talking about obesity in relationship to things like diabetes, which is a major factor in the world today. And I'm sure Dr. Hala, who will be taking this program, will talk about things like cardiac-related ailments and hypertension and hypercholesteremia and thyroid-related situations, all of which come with obesity. Friends, with that, thank you. Have a good day. In the UAE, it is now lunchtime. Remember to eat mindfully, okay? You don't have to eat a lot to be full. Eat the right things in the right quantity and add a little bit of Dr. Savita's mindfulness into your meal. Thank you very much and good day.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.